So Game Pass continues to scorch this summer. We have some awesome games to check out. My name is Sunny. We're going to start this with RoboCop Rogue City. If you ever watched the films from the 80s and thought, man, maybe it would be cool to play the iconic cyborg, well, you're going to get your shot. Combat in this game is pretty interesting. It's like a mixture of moving slow like RoboCop does, but he's insanely powerful and everything you do is very impactful. There's destructible environments that you get to blast through, and while the story's not really unique, essentially you're cleaning up a crime-ridden Detroit run by corrupt mega corporations. It's still interesting enough at the end of the day. Since RoboCop's release, I think back at the end of 2023, it has been really well loved. This one is set to land on Game Pass on July 17th. So we have a little bit of a quirky game in My Friendly Neighborhood. It's a first-person horror game where you play as Gordon, a repairman sent to shut down an old children's TV broadcast, only it ends up being way more than you bargained for. You're gonna run into things like murderous puppets, some really crazy mazes, and really a lot of unsettling environments mixed with the fact that there's tight resource management, almost like in the vein of the old school Resident Evil titles. And all this is to really having you forced to think strategically as you navigate this maze-like horror. One awesome thing about this game is that it's really short. I always kind of like short games. I don't have a ton of time. It's about 5 to 8 hours long. So if you're looking for something with like a really quick game with a horror twist, I think this is a good one, and it arrives on July 17th. Now our next game is Back to the Dawn, which is a fascinating name for a game that's all about prison escape, and this is an RPG, but it has elements of survival as well, as you play as Thomas, a reporter, or you get to choose Bob, an undercover cop. Whoever you choose, both were wrongly sent to prison, and now you have 21 days to escape. So you have to kind of do things like work with your fellow inmates, as they all have their own stories and motivations, and they'll have their own things that you have to help them with to help break you out. You'll also manage things like your eating, your sleeping, and engaging in small ways to find things like being able to craft makeshift tools and all sorts of little mini games that you'll engage with. This game's also very non-linear, meaning you're going to have very different branching storylines throughout your playthroughs on trying to escape, and every playthrough is going to play a little different than the other one. So it's really cool in that sense. This game has been really well loved since its early access release, but the cool thing is it's getting its full-blown 1.0 release right as it lands and arrives on Game Pass on July 18th. Now the game Farming Simulator 25 is a game that really doesn't need an introduction. It's all about the authentic farming experience, with the ability now to do it across 3 huge maps in North America, East Asia, or Central Europe, and always having your choice of being kind of the farmer you want is central to this game. Do you actually want to go ahead and plant crops and focus on actual crops, or maybe you want to work on raising animals? There's really no limit to what you can do in this game, and one of the cool things about this franchise is it does have full-on multiplayer, so you have the ability to work alongside other farmers right beside you. It's really super cool. It's a game that if you're really into farming games at all, this is really the best there is out there. This one's coming to Game Pass on August 1st. So we got a game that's coming back to Game Pass on High on Life. It's easily one of the funniest takes on the FPS genre. The game blew up first when it hit Game Pass down in 2022 thanks to its wild humor and its bizarre alien world. Now, it was removed for a while, but now it's making a cool comeback just in time for the sequel, which is also dropping on Game Pass as a day one title. If you missed it the first time around, now's your chance to dive into this weirdly fun shooter where your guns literally talk back and roast you while you play. It's awesome. High on Life returns to Game Pass for cloud, console, and PC on July 15th. Our next game is Abiotic Factor. Now, I'm sure you know about this one. It's a heck of an intense co-op survival game out there. If you're a fan of games like Half-Life, you're gonna feel right at home here. It's got that spooky atmosphere, it's got twisted supernatural enemies, and a massive underground facility filled with unexpected nightmares pretty much around every single corner. But what I really dig about this one is that you can experience all that action with up to 6 friends in co-op. The cool thing is Abiotic Factor has really built up a solid reputation and has received a ton of overwhelmingly positive reviews from players who really love a good challenge. So if you and your buddies are into tough survival experiences with a dark sci-fi twist, you're going to want to definitely check out this one when it drops on Game Pass on July 22nd. We certainly have talked about Wheel World a ton of times on this channel. It's a super unique mix of bicycle racing and adventure, packed with a full-on story. You play as a racer who's somehow responsible for saving the world from total destruction by completing these high-stake bicycle missions and going head-to-head with elite riders, and it's really that kind of game. There's really a lot of quests to take on, there's characters to chat with, even some customization for your bike. Nothing too crazy, but you still have some good options. It's one of those indie gems that tries to be different and be a little, you know, a little unique. Wheel World hits Game Pass on July 23rd. So maybe one of the best Game Pass games that we're gonna see this year, and especially if you're into Souls-like games, the game Wu Chang Fallen Feathers needs to be on your radar. Now at first look, it gives off very strong Wo Long Falling Dynasty vibes, probably because of the shared Chinese mythology setting, but this one, guys, looks just as brutal, maybe even more. There's like this really deadly illness spreading, these factions that are really tough to deal with, and a dark, gritty world really to have to like fight through. Now there's gonna be, of course, intense combat, swarm of enemies, massive boss fights, and that classic punishing gameplay that Souls fans have really loved, you know, over the years. Now I have to be real, this might not be for the faint of heart, might not be for those casual players, but if you enjoy mastering tight combat and jumping deep into a mysterious ancient world, this one's definitely gonna be for you. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers lands on Game Pass on July 24th. Now Grounded 2 is hands down one of the most hyped Game Pass games dropping this month. When it was revealed, the original player count from the first game jumped by 200%. It doubled just like that, and honestly it makes a lot of sense. The first Grounded really nailed that survival adventure formula. The sequel looks like it's leveling everything up even more. It's set in that same backyard sized universe. Grounded 2 though is going to be bringing new enemies, new bosses, a fresh mystery to uncover, and a lot more depth. But what really stood out to me was when the game was announced were these like really cool rideable bugs. You can now also hatch insect eggs, raise your own buggy companions, and ride them around the world. They'll even fight alongside you and protect you from danger, so really neat. Grounded 2 hits Game Pass as a day one title on July 29th. So coming this August, we're getting a brand new remaster of the original Gears of War, and this marks the second remaster for the iconic shooter, but this time though, it's shaping up to be the really definitive version. It comes loaded with all the post-launch content from the original game. That means bonus campaign acts, extra multiplayer maps, characters, cosmetics, and it's going to be all included for free. And since it's remastered, the visuals and performance have also been revamped. We're talking 4K resolution, a cool new modernized UI, and a smooth 120 FPS in multiplayer. Plus there's going to be full crossplay and full cross progression, so you can squad up with your buddies no matter what platform they're on, and you get to keep all your progress synced across all the platforms. Gears of War Reloaded lands on Game Pass on August 26th. Now speaking of remakes, we're also getting the enhanced version of Senua Saga's Hellblade 2. The original already really set that bar high with its gorgeous visuals and incredible sound design, but this version is about to take that immersion to the next level. There's some brand new, very high graphic presets that really bumps up the clarity and makes the whole experience feel even more cinematic. But guys, it's not just about the looks. This version also brings back the Dark Rock game mode. It's a tense time-based challenge where you have to make it to Iceland before the rot fully gets to Senua's mine. So if you're already playing the game or planning to start now, this might be worth, you know, holding off until that enhanced version drops on Game Pass on August 12th. So this is really interesting, really neat. So it's kind of been, you know, there's been really good high quality games for Game Pass. We have, you know, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, we have Grounded 2, some really solid titles, but it's been, as far as the quantity of Game Pass games, not as much, but that might actually change here. According to reports, Microsoft is set to sign a separate deal ranging from anywhere to $50,000 to $50 million to bring both indie games and big AAA titles to the service. Now, what games are we talking about exactly? Well, your guess is going to be as good as mine, but guys, with that kind of money on the table, you can bet there's going to be some heavy hitters coming our way, and you know, don't be surprised to see some heavy hitters hit our wallet as they finally get even more games on here. And then the fact that, you know, this thing's about to be really expensive, but either way, it's looking up for us Game Pass fans as we get a lot of value even at its current state, so I'm excited. And finally, with that, we have games leaving Game Pass. Nothing too insane, but either way, these games are leaving on July 31st.